Sony is doing a great job in the mirrorless hybrid game, making pretty compelling photography cameras and video cameras all in one. The new A7S III is, by most accounts, really impressive. Sure, it doesn't do 8K like the Canon R5, but it does do 4K 120, and it's exceptionally good in low light with good autofocus and maybe okay so-so stabilization, but maybe it's all right. All around the A7S III looks really, really nice, but it may suffer from a similar overheating issue like the Canon R5 and R6. Oh no. Well, thankfully, it's not that dire. The R5 and R6 are in an entirely different category in terms of overheating. They really messed that one up. I think Sony is in a little different category where people are testing the A7S III and they're saying it overheats. It's the same problem as the R5 and R6. It overheats. However, most people, a lot of people, aren't able to replicate this problem even in, warm environments. I think Potato Jet put a camera in an oven at some point. I didn't see the video myself, but this is what I heard, to cook it to death, I guess, to see if it would get too hot and shut off. However, the camera overheats when it's exposed outdoor to direct sunlight. So this happened with the GH5. I tested this in my own backyard. I did a video. It's on the channel. You can check it out if you want. Direct sun is going to warm the camera up beyond its normal operating limit. Now, does the A7S III overheat faster than other cameras like the S1H that has a fan, or like the GH5 that has a smaller sensor? Yes, it does. But this is a very controlled situation where you could provide shade, something to help cool down the camera so it's not in that like direct sun warming up. I mean, you figure you put black plastic in the sun, it's going to get really hot. And same is true of the A7S III, and it just warms up too much. So different from the R5 in that the R5 and R6 are kind of producing their own heat internally just from the processor warming the thing up. Doesn't really matter if you're in a cold room or a warm room, it just overheats. The A7S III you can use, by all accounts, in normal operating conditions. It's just, hey, don't put it in direct sunlight for too long if it's a hot day in Phoenix, where I am. And I wouldn't recommend that for any camera. It's just probably not good for any electronics to get too hot. Even your phone will probably overheat on a summer day in Phoenix if it's exposed to the sun, because it's just going to suck up that radiant energy. So, do I give them a pass? Yes. Is it unfortunate that it overheats in certain situations, that you might be outside taking pictures, doing video, and you have to kind of be in the sun? Yes. Do I prefer something a little bit more bulletproof? Yes. However, do I think it's workable and you can work around it in a much easier way than what Canon is doing? Yes. The A7S III, if you're on the fence between, I put a poll on my channel asking, what full frame camera, if you had $4,000, what full frame camera would you buy? Would it be the R5? Would it be the A7S III? Would it be the S1H? Would it be something else? I think just between Canon and Sony, go for the Sony if you're looking to spend basically $4,000. I know the Sony's a little cheaper. I think it's $3,500. But if you run that, they're all kind of relatively the same price point. And if you're looking to make an investment around that much, I'd say go for the A7S III compared to the R5. It doesn't have 8K, but I don't think that's the end of the world. I don't think people were clamoring for 8K anyway, of like it has to have 8K. I think 4K 120 is far more usable, and the fact that these are resolutions without any cropping is fantastic. And is the autofocus as good as the Canon? I don't know. I've seen some pretty impressive results from previous models of Sony cameras in terms of eye tracking and whatnot, and it seems to do a good job, better than Panasonic by far. Same with Canon. So I think you're relatively safe if you want to pre-order the Sony. Now, would I pre-order the Sony? No, I wouldn't. I don't think you necessarily need to pre-order it unless you have to have it kind of day one. But really, I do recommend probably just rent it, try it out, see how it works for you, see if it's something you need. If it does overheat, then hey, you're not out the cost of a camera. You just rent it and you found out for yourself. In your environment, it does tend to overheat for whatever reason. So just keep that in mind. Rental's always an option. But I do have to give Sony a hand. They're doing an incredible job doing kind of just like the bare minimum. I know that sounds demeaning, and I don't mean it to, but Canon is swinging for the fences. They're trying to hit home runs, and the bat keeps overheating, right? It doesn't matter how hard you're swinging. You can 8K, you can RAW, you can do all this stuff, but if you can't actually hit the ball, it doesn't matter. Sony has been coasting for years now, doing what I would say is kind of the bare minimum. Now, the low light is impressive with the A7S line. That is impressive. But they have the A7S, the A7, and the A7R. They have a different flavor for different people and what they need. And none of these cameras, while they are good, none of them really, in my mind, stand out where having that one killer feature, that one killer thing that you need. Whereas in like the S1H from Lumix, Panasonic, they have the anamorphic features. They have stuff that's like, oh, this is like a video cinema centric tool that is very unique in a marketplace that like really doesn't have a lot of that. Like, yes, you can buy cinema cameras that do anamorphic, but it's very kind of odd to put anamorphic features in a hybrid, photography style camera. That's a little kind of interesting and a little quirky and a little weird, kind of different. Sony's done that with the low light, but other than that, now they have the 4K 120, which is impressive. But historically, over the past, 10 years or so, they've just been making good mirrorless cameras. They've had recording limits. They've had tiny batteries. They've had terrible flip screens. Like all the things I've criticized Sony about for the longest time. I think they're legitimate criticisms, but it was fine. Like there was no competition. What were you going to buy instead? Canon was basically not offering what anyone wanted in terms of video features. Nikon, same deal. Panasonic and Olympus were like Micro Four Third was it. There was no full frame, so it's like Sony was like the only one. They were just sitting there going like, okay, guys, we'll just keep taking all your money. That's fine, whatever. And they've just slowly gobbled up the market. Now you have a ton of Sony shooters out there they love their cameras, and they laugh at Canon and Nikon and Panasonic for that matter. It's just kind of funny. There's nothing all that special that they're doing. They don't have some crazy secret sauce that like no one else could do. Canon could have literally made the exact same camera, just don't make it overheat, and they'd probably sell way more units because it's Canon and people love Canon. But of course they have to introduce this like overheating issue, and then people want to say, oh, but the A7S III, that also overheats. It also overheats too. Oh, but like it's a very different circumstance. The reason it's overheating is separate. It's different. I made the GH5 overheat as well by putting it in direct sun, and it probably got over 150 degrees Fahrenheit. Probably almost 160 when you take in the fact that it was warming itself up by just operating and running. So why don't more companies actually compete with Sony? Panasonic's starting, they're trying with the S1H and some full frame stuff. Leica, it's so expensive unnecessarily that I don't even know that it's really even part of the equation. Who does Sony have to fight? There's like nobody. Nobody even wants to, it's not even like they're even trying. I don't know what they're doing. Everyone is asleep. And Sony just gets to get a pass. Even though for the longest time they've had what I've considered like somewhat, like they're okay hybrids. They're good. Definitely lean more to the photo side than the video side, but they've done good video, right? The low light is good. It's great. But I wish it had a good flip screen. Oh wait, now they do. I wish I had higher frame rates. Oh wait, now they do. I wish I had a better battery. Now it does. I wish there weren't record limits. Now it does. Like they've just caught up and done all like the little stuff. And now people are looking at it like, this is like the perfect camera. Like it does everything I want it to do. Why would I get anything else? And they've got their Sony lenses because they've gotten into the system when it was a little bit quirky, a little bit funky. And no one else even bothers, company-wise, like other manufacturers. They don't even bother. They're just like, oh, Sony keeps winning. How do they keep winning? They're so brilliant. It's like, they're not, though. They're like, there's nothing. Like, they're fine. They're good cameras, but this is not... In 2020, it's been a long road getting here, and we should have all seen this coming, right? Resolution is going to keep going up, frame rates are going to keep increasing, stabilization has to keep getting better, low light has to keep getting better, autofocus has to keep getting better. Like, it is the natural progression of these things, And until someone throws in some crazy feature, you know, anamorphic maybe, but that's like such a small audience that's even suited for that. It's cool. I'm really glad it's there, but it's not a mass appeal kind of feature. Like, hey, it does anamorphic, and people are like, what? Oh, okay. It's like it's been a long time coming to get here, and it's funny that we're not even at a point where cameras just like do what you would want them to do in terms of like 4K 60 on the R6 and it doesn't overheat. Oh wait, no, you can't have that. It does overheat. So I'd say Sony, bravo Sony, you're doing a good job. Keep it up. I guess push yourself, because apparently no one else wants to compete with you.